Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to School Matters. Yes, with me, Ismail Khan. Well, Alhamdulillah, we are in the first week of our school year. Whoa, we can't believe it. We're almost in the third week. Trying to continue with our daily routine, overcoming the heat, exhaustion, routine, tiredness. May the Almighty grant each of us during these hot days ease. We've all been celebrating our grade 12 matric learners' achievements. Last week, we had, in the Umlazi district, which performed very, very well. Umlazi district, they performed outstandingly. Last week, we had a special live audience with Department of Education officials as our guests, the provincial spokesperson for education, and the district director, and we had over 20 schools which were present. We have been focusing and celebrating our top achievers and learners who performed well. But what about our learners who did not make it? Learners who performed poorly? It is the end for them, all doom and gloom? Well, we need to, as educators, parents, we need to motivate these learners, encourage our learners who did not perform well. There's always a second chance. Rejection is simply one of the most hurtful things that can happen to any person. They need to accept it, learn from it, and simply keep on pushing. Failure and wins are part of life. Remind them that many successful people have setbacks and failure before achieving their goals. Well, our guest this evening is our educational psychologist. We're linking up with her all the way in Rustenburg. Welcome to School Matters, Sister Melanie Dunge.
Good evening to you and the learners that are listening.
Yeah, this evening we have a topic which, one would not discuss. We have been celebrating the achievements of our grade 12 learners, those who are going to tertiary, those who got, 7 A's and 6 A's and who did well, basically. But what about those learners who did not perform well, the learners who did not make it? It's a very sad time because psychologically and emotionally, it can take a toll on you. You can be go into depression, isolation, and sometimes, sad to say, even suicide. So, that's our topic this evening, advice to the learners who didn't make it.
Thank you so much, Suma. And about the topic, as it is this time, the only people that are those well, but then is exerting a lot of pressure. It exerts the mental health. For those,
yeah, sorry. You know what? The network is a bit bad. We will try phoning you via a normal call, not WhatsApp. Okay? Yeah. Well, this is so relevant because when you think about it, imagine you're a parent of a learner who did not perform well. And in your family, parents from the same school are all celebrating and excited that their child finally made it, but your child did not make it due to, various reasons. It also can take a toll on the parent because, your expectations could have been high or you expected your child to perform better. It's also quite sensitive because we as parents, we as adults, we also need to approach this in such a way where we do not put our child in a depressive state, which might lead to where they run away from home, depression, and as I mentioned, even suicide. This is so relevant. This actually happens at times. So we are trying to link up with our guest. We are contacting her via a normal call. So I think our tech managed to link her. The WhatsApp call is not so clear. Yes, Sister Melanie, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Oh, perfect.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you so much this issue, because at this moment, only thing is being spoken of, it's what was learners that, and that on its own, it is exactly health issues on those learners, and for them, it's all gloom. So it's like nothing that they can do. And for them, they think that they're being defined.
Yeah.
But today, it's not all fat. They can't write themselves off. There is still a light at the
Sister Melanie, do you have another contact number which we can try to contact you on? Or you just have this number?
I do have a
You do. Okay, well, you can WhatsApp it to me. I think we'll take a short ad break and we will continue.
Would you like to give Sadaqah 365 days a year? You can with the Al Imdad Foundation's Daily Sadaqah program. Donate as little as R1 a day for a month for each member of your family, up to any specified amount, and receive monthly feedback on where your contributions have made a difference. Visit alimdad.com and download your Daily Sadaqah debit order form or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
J.Today Jamshed brings you Summer Clearance Sale with up to 50% off on all items. Avail the most exciting offer from 23rd January to 2nd February 2025. Visit our store or shop online at ca.todayjamshed.com.
اللهم بارك لنا في رجب وشعبان وبلغنا رمضان.
Education's purpose is to replace an empty mind with an opened one.
Join Sumaya Khan every Tuesdays between 7 and 8 p.m. for an educational evening exclusive to Radio Al Ansar.
Your education is a dress rehearsal for a life that is yours to lead.
School Matters with Sumaya Khan.
The whole world could.
Masi sondele, pilano tolo yelele.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Subhanallah walhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. You can say it once or 100 times or more. You feel at peace inside and it'll open every door. That's the power of remembering Allah. It's the best way to purify your heart. Know you will be loved by the merciful one. 'Cause that's the power of remembering Allah. Subhanallah walhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Subhanallah walhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. So much you can gain just by saying those few words. You can renew your faith and be showered in reward. That's the power of remembering Allah. It's the best way to purify your heart. You know you will be loved by the merciful one. 'Cause that's the power of remembering Allah. La ilaha illallah
Masisondele, masisondele kuyiwala.
It's the best way to purify your heart. Oh, that's the power of the memory of love. It's the best way to purify your heart. Know you will be loved by the merciful. 'Cause that's the power of the memory of love. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to School Matters. Yes, we managed to link up, hopefully on a clearer line. Well, I know you mentioned that in Rustenburg there's low shedding happening right there. Wow, I thought they stopped with that there, electrical update. I know, I'm just reading the messages you have sent me. Well, Melanie, as you were discussing our topic, what do we do to the learners who did not perform well and did not make it in grade 12?
Okay, thank you so much. For the parents, I think they need to understand that the blame game is a no-no. So the parents need to ask themselves, what is it that they did not do in order to support the kids? And the learners themselves, they need to understand that despite the blow or the setback of not being able to pass their matric, but life goes on. What is important, it is for these learners to develop a positive attitude, to understand that failure is just a blessing in disguise because it prepares one for future. There are people who have never had a challenge during their lifetime. So when they are old and when they experience a setback, for them, it becomes the end of the world. They feel that they are not good enough, which is why we are saying for those learners who did not do well now, they must learn from the mistakes and try and go back to the drawing board to say, what are they must do the SWOT analysis. What is their strength? What is their weakness? They must identify the challenges that hindered them from achieving. So they need to look at themselves so that the same mistakes that they experience, they do not repeat those. So they need to ask themselves, how can they change the tide around? What is it that they can do in order to reverse the situation now? So what are the opportunities that are available out there that they can then explore so that they can be able to improve their metric? So there are a lot of avenues that are there that can assist them in ensuring that they achieve their goals.
Besides the learner, I mentioned also when we were off air and when we were on air, it also takes a toll on the family, especially the parents, because they have relatives, friends, colleagues whose child performed well and your child did not perform well. And that can also cause where the parent can just lose it, get angry on the child and might say hurtful things, which can lead to, depression to such a point where the child or the learner might feel, I'm useless, I have no purpose, let me just take my life. And this is a reality where during exams, whether it's tertiary or high school, we have learners who take their own lives because they do not make it. What advice do you have there for the parent?
Thank you so much, Sumaya. The first thing would be for the parent to allow the child some time to process everything, because it is not about the parent, but it is about the child. So they must understand that the child is undergoing a lot. As much as they've got pressure from their colleagues and their families, but the person who is enduring a lot in this case, it is the child. So they must understand that this child might need some privacy so that they can digest everything, because for them also it's a shock. Remember, the entire year, they've been preparing themselves that they are going to tertiary, and then boom, now they didn't make it. So that on its own, it does have, it's a blow to these kids. So it is important for parents to listen and understand their children's views with regards to subject choices as well. Because at times, as much as there's pressure, but parents also, they contribute to some of the kids that did not do well. Because maybe when they were doing the subject selection, the parent wanted the child to do accounting, yet the child was not wired to do accounting, or the child is not good in accounting. Maybe the parent wanted the child to do physics. So in this case, these two people, they need to learn to sit down and talk to each other. The parent should understand the child to say, what is it? What are the challenges that you experience? How best can I support you? So it's not about everyone else, but it's about this child. Like we are saying, these kids, they undergoing a lot. So here in this case, there's a lot of mental health. They might be anxious. They might be having depression. They might be having sleeping disorders, because there's a lot of maladaptive thoughts. They asking themselves, why didn't I make it? Is it because I'm not good enough? So we need to understand. That is what parents need to understand, to say, how can I rally behind this child so that they can then make it this time around? They must forget what has happened, because there's no way they can undo the past, but there's hope for the future.
You know, this is where counselors play, such a vital role, because lots of high schools, I think majority of them, they tend to screen learners. They tend to have meetings with their parents. Is this course for you? Are you looking to do something in that field when you qualify, or when you finish school? What direction you're going? And this plays such a vital role, because not everyone is cut out for different subjects, but they just do it to say that, I'm doing this subject because it's so difficult. But in the long run, it does them a disservice.
Thank you so much for that, Sumaya. I think schools, they need to come up with programs as well, where learners will be made aware that not all of them are grade 12 candidates. There are those learners who were supposed to exit at grade 9, but they've been condoned until grade 12, where they find themselves stuck. So some of them, they don't even have that ability, but it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them, which means that as education, as communities, as parents, as schools, we need to go back and find programs that will talk into these kids to say that as much as you are not doing well, you are not getting 50%, but what talent or what skill do you possess that you can pursue? There are so many people that we know who have made it in life, but those people, some of them, they didn't even pass grade 12.
Exactly.
So grade 12, it doesn't mean that one has to have grade 12. What if they are not grade 12 candidates? But because there hasn't been any preparation to these children to say, you might find yourself struggling, but when you find yourself struggling, these are other avenues that you can explore so that they don't become frustrated.
And generally in the high school, I'm talking from a macro point where there's so many ills of society. It's so tempting for these learners who never make it just to go back to school, maybe because parents forcing or family, but their head is not there. They're not motivated. They're just going there to say that they're going, and then they tend to dabble into other stuff, which is all negative. So that too can become an issue. So as you mentioned, counseling is so important. You're an educational psychologist. Many people say you don't need an educational psychologist, but you proved it. You need to see an educational psychologist concerning your child. If a parent is listening to us right now and they need guidance, they need support, they need a direction, what advice would you give them?
I would say to parents, they must not exert pressure on their children. They mustn't have high expectations, but they must look at the reality. Is their child able to do grade 12? Because as a parent, you know your child from grade R up to grade 12. You have been observing this child. From your observation, do you think this child has the capacity or the capability to do well in grade 12? Or maybe we are just putting pressure on this poor child. That is number one, which is supposed to be done by parents. But also, again, for parents, it is to ensure that they go out there and ensure that they protect their children from their family, because there is a lot of comparison within the family. To say, but your brother, your younger brother, did well, and maybe your cousin and whoever, forgetting that we are not the same. Each and every person is unique. So we cannot expect them to perform at the same level. So we need to look at each individual and the potential that each individual has. And then what is important for parents, it is to provide the relevant support that particular child requires so that they can be able to perform to the best of their ability. At the end of the day, the parent is the only source of support that the child can have.
Do you know?
So what they are saying, behind a successful child, there is a supportive parent. So some of the parents, even if they are not that learned, but if they are behind their kids, if they are able to ensure that the child has got time, they've got timetable, they've got time to do their study, maybe their house chores has been reduced so that they've got plenty of time to do their homework. That child is much more better than the child of a parent who's learned, but who is not there, who is not available or present in the life of the child.
Do you know, now we have this child who feels, they're young, they feel this is the end of the world. How do we get, as educators, as counselors, as parents, now how do we work with that child who did not make it? How we deal with it, because it's very sensitive. Sometimes, most cases, the child is embarrassed to go back to school. So how do we tell this child it's not the end of the world? You got a second chance, and you can still achieve the dreams you wanted, or pursue the career or the tertiary institution you wanted to go. You can still do that. How do we handle this egg in our hand without cracking it?
So firstly, I would say seeking professional assistance, if it is possible for that particular family. When I'm speaking about professional support, I don't only mean the educational psychologist, but also a pastor, because a pastor can be able to talk to the child and be able to tell them that It's not the end of the world.
So the child
So
should.
it is important
Yeah.
that even the parent on their own, they can sit down with the child, find out from the child what are the challenges that the child have. Is the child ready to go and do matric? Because if the child is not yet ready mentally, then it will be futile for them to go back and do matric. So it is important to sit them down and understand, from their point of view, because like I said earlier on, it's not about the parent, but it is about the child. So what is important, it is to have that platform where the parent will just listen. So what children are asking from parents is just to be a listener. Let the child talk and express themselves. How do they feel at the moment? Are they ready? What kind of support do they require from the family, from the parent? Are they ready? Do they need to take a gap year? And we need to respect that. Because at the end of the day, they are the ones who are going to take this journey. So when they take the journey of going back to school, they must be ready mentally. So if they are not ready mentally, then they are not going to achieve the goal that they want to, which is passing grade 12.
Do you mentioned something, if you belong to the Islamic faith or the Christian faith or Hindu faith, it's so important to seek, prayer, going and seeing whether it's your pastor, your Mulana or your Pandit, whoever, just to also ground you because, end of the day, the Almighty is so great. And, we need guidance, we need support. And sometimes, in most cases, the learner or the child cannot communicate with the parent. They feel that an outsider, a counselor or someone else can understand them, but not the parents.
It's true. Because the outsider is not going to judge them. So parents, most of the time, they tend to judge these kids. But when it comes to an outsider, they listen attentively without wanting to judge. But the only thing, they just want to know how the child feels. What is it that they can assist with in terms of the child so that the child can be able to go back with that zeal, to achieve.
Yeah. And
so what is important also, it is to ensure that the child is given some options. What are the options that are out there that the child can explore for them to be able to make it? There is an option that we always ignore, which is the TVET route. I'll just make an example. I was conducting assessment, I think around October, in one of the learners in Guamasho. The learner had reading and writing challenges, but that learner is very artistic. He just looks at a building and he will just put that building down as it is. So what is important, it's not being able to express yourself in writing, but we also need to look at the talent that you have. Remember, when the Creator created each and every one of us, they deposited something beautiful in each and every one of us. Some of us are artistic, some of us are academical. That is why we say some people, that is why we have two hemispheres, the right hemisphere dominant or the person is left hemisphere dominant. We are not the same. But what is important, it is to focus on the talent that one is exhibiting and try and prune that talent so that the child can pursue that for life. Here in South Africa, maybe if you can look at the people that are inventors, there are so many people that, like Thomas Edison, he didn't do well at school, but he is the person that developed, that invented a globe. But most of us who have got degrees and stuff, we can't invent anything. So it doesn't mean that all of us need to get degrees. Some of us will not get degrees, but those people, they can be our employers as long as they focus on the talent and the skill that they have and prune it so that they can be able to lead an effective life. We have Albert Einstein. Those are the people that did not do well. Even here in South Africa, we have Billy Selekane. He said he has not, he did not pass his matric. He had to repeat his matric, but he has achieved a lot. He is one of the influential people that we know. He is a motivational speaker. But failing grade 12, that was a setback, but he did not take it negatively. But instead, he wanted to achieve, to ensure that as much as he had failed grade 12, but he wanted to ensure that he was going to perform to the best of his ability, because he knew that he had something great within himself, regardless of failing grade 12.
Do you know, you touched on the TVET colleges or pre-vocational colleges. Not everyone is cut out for academics. Imagine if the world had only professional professions like teacher, doctor, lawyer, accountant, IT specialist. What about the artisans? We need them. And today, if you think about it, I know one of my show, one of the guests had just the basic salary, plus minus. And amazingly, lots of artisans earn way more than some professions, And again, not everyone is cut out for academics. They don't want to study. They just don't have the motivation. But as you mentioned, if it's electrical or if it's art or if it's something, using their hands, that's where they are winning. So what's your advice for a parent who wants their child to pursue tertiary, but this child doesn't want to probably do art or something, sculpturing? What advice do you have for those parents?
I would say to the parent, as a parent, you know your child. Throughout their life, until grade 12, you have been observing them. Maybe they are good in the kitchen, so you know that the child can pursue catering or the child can become a chef. And they can work in a hotel. They can also open their own restaurant. These days, we celebrate birthdays. We celebrate every milestone. So someone who is there at the TVET learning food production, they can make birthday, they can bake birthday cakes, whatever cakes that are there, and be able to achieve a lot and have their own business. So it's not about having passing grade 12. Like I'm saying, there are lots and lots of people who are now following the skill department. They're no longer focusing on going to university, but they have achieved a lot. They have employed a lot of people. Some of us who have been to the university, you find that we are being employed. We are not employers. But skilled people, they are employers, and they can help in ensuring that they alleviate the rate of poverty also in this country. So it is important for the parent also to have that talk, one-on-one talk with their child, to say, what is it that you think you can pursue? Give them that choice to say, do you think you are cut for doing a grade 12, or do you want to try something else? If you want to try something else, what is it exactly? Maybe if the child can list 3 skills that they think they can do, then it is important for the parent to rally behind the child and ensure that they support them with all their might in order to ensure that they achieve to the best of their ability. And remember, failing, it does temper with your self-esteem. So there will be self-esteem issues. So if the child then pursue the skill and they are able to achieve and they are being praised and commended for the skill that they possess, their self-esteem also, it does improve. Thus reducing the mental health that the child is having. So but that is killing two birds with one stone. Because also as a parent, when you have a struggling child, you also has mental health issues. But then when your child is performing, you know that you don't have to worry, but you need to focus on supporting that particular child. That is what is important for parents. It is to ensure and find out what is that unique talent that my child has. For some, they may go back and rewrite matric, maybe ask for remarking, and then they will be able then to pass. But what about those then who will not be able to do that? So can they redo their matric? Some, they will have that ability to go to the finishing school and redo their matric, and then they are able to pass. So that is good for them. But these options should be given to the child because, like I said earlier on, it is about the child.
Yeah.
It is not about the parent. Because at the end of the day, who is the person who's going to be experiencing challenges here? Who is this person whom we are exerting pressure on? It is the child. Hence, they will then suicide ideation. They feel that they are hopeless. They feel that they like nothing because they believe that there is nothing that they can do because they couldn't pass the matric. So when they go the route, the TVET route, then they are able to change the narrative now. They are able to change even their self-esteem, like they will improve. So we will even see an improvement in their social life because when they are failing, they tend then to withdraw from society. But now we see their social life being improved because they know that they have something that they can share with their peers.
Do you know?
And their peers can look at them, and say, oh, then you guys are good at doing 1, 2, 3. Instead of labeling them and having that stigma of failing grade 12.
I think the main thing is we want the learner at the end of this journey to be independent, responsible, and can support themselves, earning an income. That's the main idea. And sometimes we tend to lose the plot. So we also need to instill this in the child, and I'll say maybe the parent, because the child needs to fend for themselves, be able to pay bills, see to themselves, because parents are not always there. I think that's the main thing.
Yes, that's very much important because one day parents will not be there, but the child needs to be independent. Hence, it is important for them to make decisions, to be able to make decisions that suit themselves. Because when parents are not there, the learners will have to take decisions and they will have to account and not blame anyone. But when they are being pressured, they will then point fingers to say, I was made to do 1, 2, 3. Hence, I'm saying, can they be given an opportunity to choose what they want to do so that at the end of the day, when they do not do well, then we can say it was your choice, but it wasn't imposed on you. So it is important that they learn to be independent, make their own choices so that they are able to account at the end of the day.
Exactly. That's the main thing. And, sometimes it's a learning curve, it's a learning experience where they had to do it the hard way. Now how to make those sacrifices to study, to be responsible, to take ownership of the right and the wrong, and know what it feels like. So as we say, everyone in life, sometime or the other, experience some kind of failure. And this makes you a stronger, better person, also to communicate with others socially. What advice you have for the learner on that side, the one who's so demotivated and just feels, no, I can't study, and now it's just the end of it. I just need to stay at home or go and work in a shop or something. What advice you have for that learner where there is a silver lining, but they don't know it?
Okay. I would say to those learners, feeling sorry for themselves, it's not going to help. But they must understand that they are not defined by failure, like I said earlier on. But failure is just a setback. So it's just a season, or it's just a stage or a phase that will pass. So for them, they need to learn from the mistakes that they've done and be able to move on beyond that, so that when they look back, they will be proud of themselves to say, despite the setback that I had in 2024, but I was able to do 1, 2, 3, and they will commend themselves for doing that. And they will be able to share with other people to say that, yes, I was also in that situation, but I was able to rise above the situation, because that is what we need to do as individuals. No matter how much setback we experience, but what is important, it is to have that zeal. It is to have that energy and courage to forge ahead and be able to do what is just. Look at ourselves and say, I'm going to do it, regardless of what people are saying. Even if people do not believe in me, but I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to do this for myself. Because whatever that they're doing, they're not doing it for their parents, they're doing it for themselves. In the future, they will then relate the message to their kids to say, we once struggled, but look at where we are today. Despite struggling, but we were able to forge ahead. So what is important is that whatever setback that you have, but you need to forge ahead. Go back to the drawing board. If they want to cry, they must go there, they must cry and everything, but they must then come out strong to say, I am going to do this.
Melanie,
come rain or shine, I'm going to do this.
Quick one.
And I will succeed.
Rounding up, quick one, advice just in general. And you can give us your details.
Okay. I would say to parents and also the learners, it is important to accept the truth and just find ways to deal with it. So instead of feeling sorry for oneself, so it is important to do that. So understand what is it that you did not do well. So go back and look at yourself. Do a lot of screening. What is it? So that you can improve on those issues that you did not do well. So thank you so much for affording me this opportunity. This is Mneli Tunge. I'm the educational psychologist. My contact is 082 552 6799. You can get me on WhatsApp. 082 552 6799. And my email is mnellydunge@gmail.com. Mneli Dunge, small letters @gmail.com. Thank you so much for affording me this opportunity.
Well, thank you. I know there's electricity issues in Rustenburg where you are at the moment, but you made sure the show happened, and how vital it is for our children at this moment who did not make it. Thank you so much for linking up with us. And I know it's very hot there, but you'll stay cool.
Yeah, continue doing the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah, you and your team. Thank you so much. Big up to you.
Thank you. Well, listeners, that was our educational psychologist, Sister Melanie Dunge. You know, she gave such vital advice. You know, I'd like to thank our guests for linking up with us and taking the time to make the show possible. My email address is sumayakhan.alansar@outlook.com. Create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life, because you become what you believe. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievements. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Assalamu alaikum.